Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Nina Ha, and I'm the director of the Asian Cultural Engagement Center. Welcome to the workshop on campus admissions. Before we begin, I would like to start with the land acknowledgement. Let's see. Do I have it here? Yes, so we acknowledge the Tutelo and Monacan people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognize their continuing connection to the land, water, and air that Virginia Tech consumes. We pay respect to the Tutelo and Monacan nations and to their elders past, present, and emerging. We also acknowledge the university's historical ties to the indentured and enslaved whose labors built this institution. We pay respect to these people for their contributions to Virginia Tech. And so now I would like to introduce Luisa Burgos, sorry, I'm butchering names, who is the Senior Assistant Director in the Undergraduate Admissions Office. So it's all yours, Luisa.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. How you doing? Welcome. Good morning. Before I start, I also want to allow my co-presenter who will be doing the virtual campus tour. And April, if you want to just say your name, maybe what year you're in, and what you're studying, and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm really excited to be able to give you a virtual tour of Virginia Tech, but I'm April and I'm a sophomore currently, and I'm majoring in industrial and systems engineering, and I'm also from Chesapeake, Virginia. So
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so I want to start off by asking people in the audience if you have an idea what you might be interested in studying, you're in between majors, if you still don't know, and that's totally fine, you can put maybe your favorite class. I know that usually leads us to kind of talking about what majors we might be a good fit for you. So if you don't want to you don't mind putting that in the chat, I'll share my screen and kind of get us going from that. So a little bit about Virginia Tech. We're located in Blacksburg, Virginia, which is in Southwest Virginia. You see the little map here, just to kind of give you an idea. And, we are surrounding the New River Valley area. So if you haven't been around this area, basically, we are a college town, very big university with about 31,000 students. And the New River Valley is just like this beautiful area, land, lots of trees, lots of space, and I would just say beauty and fresh air, right? Now, our students are usually traditionally known as the most active. So we have lots of activities when it comes to sports and things like that. But overall, I always make a joke and say they're probably very active because they have to walk everywhere on campus and it's humongous. So I'm sure April will cover a little bit more of what that looks like. But just here's a quick little photo where you can kind of see how we are surrounded by beautiful mountains and trees, and overall, our campus looks like a castle. I always say like a big spread out castle. Another quick thing about us, briefly, because I think April will probably share more about this and just her experience, but Ut Present means that I may serve, and it's our motto. And this, it started because we were founded as a military institution with the Corps Cadets. And we actually have about 1,200 students that are part of that. So if that is something you're interested in, there is an option for you to be a full-time Virginia Tech student and in the Corps Cadets. There is another option to be in the civilian track, which is, I believe you're enlisted, but you're not necessarily doing the full ROTC lifestyle, but you're kind of minoring in leadership. And so it is another option for that. And then, UPROSM started because of that, but now we've expanded that motto to apply to our academics as well as, student life. A quick couple examples here. We have a student doing lab work, or it looks like at a lab. And so, we are a research one institution. And when you hear that, all it means traditionally is that your professors are outside of teaching are mostly involved also in research. So that is also opportunities for you as a student, potentially depending on the areas you are, but your professors, are contributing to that academia and research, which is also in a way giving back to the community and the wider good. And then another one, a quick example here from a student perspective, I always first shout out our Hokie ambassadors. So April is a Hokie ambassador. And, that is kind of UPROSM as well, since, they are volunteering their time and giving back to the local community at Virginia Tech by, giving their time and, sharing their experiences with prospective families, students like you all today. But right here is another example that we like to talk about briefly. And this is a photo of our first Latinx homecoming queen from 2019. So that was historically the first. So, it is something we're very proud about. And as well as a quick example of how, students in overall the homecoming court, similar to, high school, but they would have to have a campaign or a platform where they have to, people would vote for them. And her platform that year that she won was environmental awareness, which, brought that into the campaign, as well as after, being elected, and they were able to collect 800 students and go together with students and plant over 800 trees. So I'm not sure how many students volunteered to help her with that, but definitely, they had community support with students doing that. So another example of how we encourage our students to always be part of UPROSM, and whether it's academics, extracurriculars, and so much more. So if that is something you like to do already, maybe on your spare time, it is something we emphasize here at Virginia Tech for you as a student. Here's a quick glance of our Hokie Nation, more Hokies here. But, right now, one of our, I would say, slogans is we take care of each other. We were a campus that was lucky to be open during the pandemic. We had to close down for the first couple months, as most, society was, to figure things out. But we did come back with a lot of restrictions and just things in place for the safety of everyone on campus and the wider community. And so something we brag about is, everyone took it very seriously. So we appreciate that. And because of that, we were able to, continue to keep it open. And then one last thing I want to mention is we do have over 250,000 living alum all over, I would say, the US and the world. So if that is something you're also looking into being part of, it is a huge network of Hokies all over. All right, let's go into academics, this is where, my expertise comes in. And hopefully if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. We can make this as engaging as you want. But we have over 100 majors, and they're spread out between all these colleges that you see listed here. Now, a couple of unique things that I want to mention is university studies right here will be the undecided track. So when you're looking at that undecided major, or, people call them differently in other schools, we just call it university studies. So when you're looking for that, that's the name you want to look for if you are undecided and that's the way you want to come. Then you have other options all spread out within these colleges here, but each of the colleges, so let's say an example, right? We always hear students say, oh, I want to do business, but there's different majors within the College of Business that you need to select. And so an example is you may not want to choose what business major just yet, but you do know that you want to do business. So then you can go into Pamplin College of Business undecided. So it is a track. And when you're applying, that's kind of the major you select to apply. Now, when you get to the school, you do have about 2 years to make sure you select that major within the College of Business. And you can do that for every single one here of the colleges listed. So if you want to go into liberal arts and human sciences, you want to go into engineering. I will mention engineering since that one actually was, I think, the very first college to kind of have this set up, because everyone comes in as general engineering. Even though you select a major in your application, at the end of the day, you're going to be general engineering the first year. And then after your first year, you have to get a 3.0 or higher. And if you get that 3.0 or higher, you should have your top choice guaranteed of major. The only one that's not guaranteed right now is biomedical engineering, because that one has an interview process outside of that 3.0 GPA. So just keep that in mind. That one is the only one that's not guaranteed out of the 15 engineering degrees that we have. So just any questions about that part of majors, academics, anything like that? Okay. And then last but not least, we do have a med school. It is in Roanoke, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes from our main campus. in case that is something you're also thinking, for later down the road. And then we also have a vet school, and the vet school is actually located in our main campus. And then we also have a graduate school. So if you're looking at masters, PhDs, doctoral degrees, all of that, you can definitely also look at us, because we do have some 5-year master programs. So it means you get your master's within, 4 years of undergraduate. Your senior year will be mixed with graduate schoolwork as well as undergraduate, and then your 5th year is your master's degree you completed. So lots of options, academics. I know it's early on, but just so you know what's out here for you. All right, so how will you apply? So my understanding is you all around maybe sophomores, juniors in high school, right? So this is still great to know, because you can already start making your accounts. So by the time you do decide to apply, you just log back in here, kind of you're logging back on your social media, but for applications, and you just update your information as you're changing things. But a lot of this stuff is not going to change, right? Like your name, address, some things like that may just stay around the same. So you can already make an account. It is up to you. You can do either the Coalition or the Common App. These are the platforms we're part of. You only need to do one. So it is up to you which one you decide to do. We just have 2 options for you, since different students have different preferences on which one they want to use. Now you create your account, and that's where you'll find us, and you can start the Virginia Tech application. We have a holistic review, and I'll go into explaining what that means. But all it is 2 things. We're looking at your personal as well as your academic side of you. On the academic side of things, couple of things that makes us unique. That this one I may not spend too much time, but basically instead of sending your transcript to us, you do a self-reported academic record, which is basically what the title says. You are typing in on a page that we give you your academic record of your 4 years of high school. You are typing it in. That's all it means. So it is a bit unique, because you mostly probably hear of people sending transcripts, which you do, but I'll explain when. You'll do that with us at the very end of everything. Let's say you apply, you do the self-report academic record. Then if you are admitted and then you decide to attend Virginia Tech, that is when we finally request your final transcript. But until then, you don't have to send us a transcript. And you actually have to do the self-reported academic record. Now, some things, if you send a transcript, you still need to do the self-reported academic record, or your application will be incomplete. So just keep that in mind. You have to do it. We have it pretty outlined on our website. So hopefully we send email reminders and all of this. So as long as you do it, you should be fine. Now, academic rigor. This is key to be a competitive applicant for Virginia Tech. So when it comes to academic rigor, all it means is that we're looking at your high school and what is available to your high school. So if it's not available in your high school, we're not expecting this. But if you have some honors, AP, IB, dual enrollment classes, college level coursework offered in your high school, ideally what we want to see is that you have challenged yourself in some of those courses, right? So now, when it comes to that, I always tell students, please make sure you do extracurriculars, and it is definitely very important for you to do things outside of the classroom, but always find that balance to make sure you are taking care of your academics. That is key, right? You are attending a school to continue studying, so we definitely want to make sure that your academics are always protected while you're also being involved and things like that. Now, the rigor will be that. So GPA, notice we don't put averages here for GPA test scores. And the reason for that is because, quick example, you can have a 4.0 by having all A's and, all that perfect things. But let's say there's a student with maybe a 3.9, right? 1 point less. But that student maybe has 4 or 5 APs on their curriculum. You see that rigor is what we're looking for. So ideally, even that student with that 3.9 potentially will be a stronger applicant than that 4.0 that may have not necessarily taken those upper level classes, right? But they have that all A's. So that's definitely why I always say don't focus so much on that number GPA. They definitely make a difference, right? Because as you know, maybe by APs, they have a little weight on the GPA. So, that GPA also can go higher depending on that. But either way, for us, academic rigor is the key thing for when you're pursuing applying to Virginia Tech. Are there questions about that? Perfect. All right. So ideally, you want to make sure you're challenging yourself as you're able to and whatever is offered for your school. Test scores. This past cycle, we were optional. We haven't confirmed that we will be optional next year or the following year. But as long as you keep an eye on our website when you're looking to apply, by August 1, we should definitely know if we are optional for the following year. But all that means is, for example, if we do become optional, you don't have to send us test scores. And even if you do, you can always select that you don't want us to review your test scores. Okay, so it is truly optional. It's not one of those like tricky questions or anything like that. I always tell students, probably disclose your score if you believe it makes your application stronger. If you're a little hesitant, you can always reach out to us. You can have a meeting with your counselor to make sure what is best for you. Now, that will also be disclosed in the self-reported academic record. So all of the academics of part of you will be disclosed on that same page if you decide to show those scores. We don't use letters of recommendation, so that is something you don't need to worry about for us. Or resumes. The resume will be that extracurricular section on the coalition or the Common App. All right, so moving on the personal side of things. So we basically, anything outside of the classroom that you do counts as extracurricular, that is productive. So there's lots of examples. There's students that may be into sports. There's students that may be into music, so they're in the arts, or musicians or marching or band. There's students that may have to work. That will also count as an extracurricular. Students that are involved with their organizations, nonprofits, or church. And so as long as you're doing something outside of the school that is productive is what we're looking for. We don't have any preference on community service hours or specific clubs that are going to make you a stronger applicant versus another. It's more about doing what you're passionate about and probably productive outside of school. Now, outside of that, right, that is very open and to options for everything, what you can do. Another thing we're going to pay a lot of attention to will be our essays. So we have our 4 essays in our application, and these are the themes of the essay. So we have service, resilience, leadership, and long-term goals. Now, each of these themes have a prompt. So we do ask you a series of questions within each of these, and you have 120 words max limit to answer them. So if you think of those 4, it's about 450, 500 word essay combining all of them. This is very, very important to us. So I always tell students, please take it seriously. It's not an optional essay, so it is definitely something that we pay very close attention to your personal side of you. All right, deadlines. So I know you're still early in the game, but that way you can have an idea when you are a senior, when things will get started. The first option you will have, if it does say right now in 2 years you're a senior, November 1 will be the first deadline that you are potentially able to apply with. This one is binding. And for many schools, you will hear this, but early decision, it's the type, kind of what the title says. I know it seems like crazy, but I like to use the title in the description. Basically, you are deciding early. And I mean deciding because when you apply with this deadline, you are signing a little statement, contract, that if you are admitted to that school, you will be attending that school, like you're committing by the time of applying. Traditionally, you always say you want to only do binding for your dream school, your top choice, that you will be attending that no matter what. It is very early, so it is in November, and you find out in mid-December whether you want, if you were admitted, and you're basically committed to us, So just keep that in mind. That one is a binding deadline. So I always tell students, if for some reason finances is one of your biggest decision factors where you attend college, maybe look at the next options, right? Because you are kind of committing to us without knowing what your package looks like for scholarships and things like that. Doesn't mean you won't have any, it's just you just don't know what it will look like. The next option you'll have is early action, kind of like the name of it. You're acting early, but you're not committing early, right? You're just acting early. And so you are applying, but you're not committing to us by the time of application. This is December 1, and you find out late February. This one we call it priority because I'll explain a little more. This is mostly where our students come from because, they don't want to do that commitment with the binding decision. So a lot of students tend to apply with this option. Now, the last one you have after this one will be regular, which is January 15th. And this one, notice in parentheses, it says space available. So this one can be a lot more competitive. A lot of space may be already filled with the earlier two deadlines. So this one, you're just competing for a lot less space. So examples, we've had valedictorians, all of that being waitlisted in the regular application because there was already, some majors were already pretty full. So just keep that in mind. Try not to wait until then, unless, something happens and you just have to do it, but I recommend everyone here to do priority as the latest option. And last but not least, let's say you want to take a different route, which we have lots of students take advantage of this, but you can either go to community college, you can go to another four-year institution, but you decide to, still end up at Virginia Tech, you can look into our transfer options, and we have lots of deadlines for you there, different, you see right here, and then we have we give you a guidance on what classes you need to take for what major in order to apply as a transfer student. So you do not have to complete 2 years of community college unless you want to. The associates, sometimes some students transfer earlier than that as well. So just keep that in mind. There is lots of options for that. So once you apply, and this is something, right, I didn't know when I was a high school student, but basically you don't have to wait until you hear from the school to apply for scholarships. You actually do it hand in hand. So you apply for the school and then you also apply for scholarships, because when you get your decision, a lot of these universities, they're going to send you your decision with your financial aid package. And that's basically the two things you need in order to make a decision. Our scholarship deadline is due January 22nd. And so thinking back of deadlines, we said December 1 was your, early action deadline that I recommend. Then, you apply to scholarships January 22nd, and you hear from us late February, around that time. So then you're going to have everything you need in order to make a decision. You do want to do a FAFSA, so that opens up October 1. So that's one thing you can definitely knock out really early, since a lot of schools will ask you for a FAFSA, not just Virginia Tech. So you can not do that and then get it out of your to-do list for during the application process timeline. Here's a quick glance of our costs. You're looking around $23,000 a year, including room and board. So that's your housing and meal plan on campus. And then you're out of state, you're looking around $42,000 a year with room and board as well. So again, lots of options for you here when it comes to housing. I'm sure maybe April can share about what she did and what options, that she took advantage of, but there is options for you when it comes to the housing and food. And then here's a quick glance of some fun things, statistics from our students. So we have really good graduation rate. We also have, lots of students finding jobs and, pursuing graduate school soon after graduating. Now, I always say this is pre-COVID, right? Because things could look different now when it comes to statistics. So just putting that out there. And then, a nice starting average salary. Again, it's an average, so it could vary across fields. And then lots of students coming back year after year. And last but not least, here's our social media. Follow us. We do have a TikTok. We just made it, so definitely check us out. Lots of good stuff there. But are there any questions?
Go ahead, Ariel.
So going back to what you said for regular decision and early action. So if you get waitlisted from early action to regular decision, are you less or more likely to get in, or does your application go through the reviewing process all over again?
Great question. So from early decision, right? There's three things that can happen. Early decision is your very first deadline, the very first one that I mentioned. You can either get admitted, denied, or deferred. So we don't waitlist from early decision, we deferred you to early action. So then what we'll do there is we'll review you again with the early action pool. So we'll just review you all over again with everyone else. Now from early action to regular, that one we don't defer, so we don't review you again in regular. If you were waitlisted, you would be waitlisted until, if we pull from the waitlist, usually for a waitlist, traditionally people pull from the waitlist in the summer, early summer. So like at the mid-May, around that time is when people start pulling from the waitlist. Now it varies by year, it varies by school. Sometimes you do get pulled off the waitlist before May 1, but May 1 is like that national deadline that you commit to a school. So if you notice that, maybe there are other schools, if you ever got waitlisted, that after May 1, basically what happens is we see how many students accepted their offer. And if there's more space, then we go into the waitlist. But some people get pulled off the waitlist even before that May 1. But traditionally, I always tell students, it's not guaranteed, right? And we have no prediction over how many spaces we have. So always have your plan B if you were waitlisted. And, after May 1, if you get pulled off the waitlist, then, we can talk about those options, but definitely have your plan B for that. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay, I have a question about admissions. So are any of the schools more competitive than others? Like, is it harder to get into the School of Engineering than, I don't know, the School of Arts or something like that?
Yes, so there are more competitive majors. I can tell you a good rule of thumb. We don't have them listed out there, right? Which one is the most, which one is the least. But a good rule of thumb, I would say, is the ones that you probably know the names of, know us as traditionally known for, tend to be the more competitive. A quick example, right? I didn't know about, I'm trying to see if we have a major in water. But many students just they don't tell you in high school there's majors in water, right, or water management. So then people traditionally will be like, oh, I want to do like the big names, right? Now doesn't mean it's not competitive, but it just most likely will mean there's less people aware of it, so we sometimes get less applications. So I guess that's kind of a good way to know. But I can tell you, I don't want to stress you, but I also want to be like, every major at Virginia Tech is competitive. But there will be those that, tend to be a little bit more than others. I guess to touch on a little bit about that, let me explain something to switching majors or double majoring, right? When you're looking at that, because there was a time when students do go into a different major and then they're like, well, I can always just switch later. That is true. We do have people switching majors all the time. I think the average, not at Virginia Tech, but the national average of a student switching major is like 4 times. So people definitely change their mind a lot. When you're studying, you'll figure it out. You're not gonna, at 17 know 100% that is what you want to do, right? But I do want to explain a little process. So sometimes all you do is sign a paper and you switch majors. But there are some majors at Virginia Tech that are restricted, which means you are actually going through an application process as well. So those you need to, make sure you have certain requirements, certain probably grades. So you do apply to them again. So just keep that in mind. Some could be just signing papers and you switch a major or double major, and some you're just going through an application process.
There was a question in the chat about is it mandatory for freshman students to stay in dorms?
Yes, so we do ask first year to stay on campus. We can work with exceptions depending on case by case basis. But for the most part, all incoming first years will live on campus. All right, well, I'm gonna stay in the
Wait,
Zoom.
sorry, there's Hannah just raised
Oh.
her hand.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, I had a question. So like from an admissions point of view, is dual enrollment or like AP more impressive?
For us, I can tell you, we look at them as college level. I say for us, right? Because there are some schools that may prefer one over the other. Now, I always say when you're looking at as a student, couple of things. AP, you have to take an exam, right? And get usually a 3 or higher in that exam to get credit. dual enrollment, you don't have that exam as long as you usually get a C or better. Now, to be competitive, you want A's and B's, but traditionally C's or better would transfer to a university. So pros and cons when you're deciding, right? Do you want that exam or do you want to do a class? Both for us, Virginia Tech are looked as college level.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
I
we're
have a
go ahead.
question about so another thing about the APs, let's say you don't do the best on your exam, like how would that play out into like college acceptance and like how you guys look at it?
Yeah. So another for us, right? For us, we're not going to look at your 3, 4, 5 AP score. We're going to focus on your class grade. So I guess it's not a stressful thing, right? For admissions, with that score you may get. Now, I always say, right, you probably still want to do well for you to get credit for that whole year you spent in that class or semester. But admissions wise, we're only going to focus on your class grade. Yeah, Ariel, you had a hand.
Going back to what you said about biomedical engineering being the only one that's not guaranteed after your first year, since there's an interview process, if you don't pass that, then what happens? Like, do you have to choose another major or?
So most likely there's options for you. So there's that, you can either look into a different track or you can look into becoming a stronger applicant, maybe wherever you know that area may have been where you didn't maybe not be as competitive for that, and you can try again. So I would say there's probably that. And then worst scenario, I'm sure they probably have a limit on interviews. And I say, because I'm not 100% sure how many times you can continually reapply to it, but then you will have to choose another engineering track. Other questions? All right. Well, I'm going to stay in the Zoom, so you feel free to, send me a private chat if you want to ask something privately. I will also drop my email in the chat, but now I'm going to let April take the show.
Awesome. Alrighty, so I have put my email up in the corner. If any of you need to dip out early, you can jot down my email and you just feel free to ask me any questions you have after I finish the tour. Okay. So I'm so glad to be giving you all this tour today. I would really like if you feel comfortable to turn on your cameras just because I love seeing everyone's beautiful face. If you don't feel comfortable, that's completely fine, but I definitely want to make this tour feel as much as an in-person tour as possible. And once again, a little bit about me. My name's April. I'm a sophomore and I'm majoring in industrial and systems engineering, and I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia. So shout out to anyone else who's from the 757 area. And this tour should last about 30 minutes. It might go a little over. And I will be taking questions at the end as well, in case you have any. Or don't hesitate throughout the tour. If you have any questions, please just put it in the chat, or you can even just turn off your mic and ask me the question. Very informal. You don't have to raise your hand or anything. Yeah, so just don't hesitate to ask any questions because I definitely want you all to get the most out of this tour as possible. So we're going to be using a 360-degree platform to tour Virginia Tech. And this is a really great way to tour because you can actually go into a few buildings that normally on an in-person tour you wouldn't be able to go into. So that's really exciting. And although this platform does take up like a lot of Wi-Fi, so it might be a little laggy for you guys. I do apologize for that, but no worries. All you really have to do is be able to hear my voice. So as long as you can hear what I'm saying, because I'll be spewing out tons of information for you guys. That's really all that matters. Okay, everyone can see my screen, right? Head shakes, awesome. Okay, so right now we are currently over Virginia Tech's drill field. So this is known as the epicenter of campus, and the drill field separates the academic side. So this is the academic side from the residential side of campus. So we do have sort of two separate sides of campus. There are a few classes that do happen on the residential side, but those are mainly your agricultural and life science classes. So we're going to come down to the drill field now. So like I said, the drill field is our huge green space area. And this is where on a beautiful day like today, you'd see students all around. You'd see our Quidditch team playing. You'd see just students studying under trees, hammocking. You would just see everyone out and about, just really soaking in the sun. It's such a beautiful place. And we do have two activities that I like to talk about here. So one is our annual snowball fight. So every single year on the first snow of the year, we have a snowball fight with the Corps Cadets. It's civilians against the Corps Cadets. And this is such a fun time. Everyone lines up, the civilians line up on one side, the Corps Cadets line up on the other, and then we just start running towards each other and going ham. But the Corps Cadets normally always lose. And another event that I like to talk about is Gobblerfest. So Gobblerfest is a really fun way for our freshmen and then our transfer students just to understand different organizations and clubs they can be a part of. Here at Virginia Tech, we have over 900 clubs and organizations that you can choose from. And all along the drill field, you'll see our 900 clubs and organizations in booths lined up, and you will have carnival rides, you'll have a Ferris wheel, and you will get tons of free stuff. So definitely bring a backpack because you will be getting tons of free swag. And once again, this is just a great way for you to understand the different clubs that we have here. We have a club for basically about everything. We have a chocolate milk club, we have a Bigfoot club. It's just so many clubs you can choose from. And if there's not already a club that you seem interested in, then you can even make your own club. All you really need is just 5 friends and to attend an information session. So very easy. All right, and then if there's not any questions, I haven't seen any so far, I'm gonna come over to Burris. So if you've seen like any Virginia Tech postcard, it's probably Burris on the front of it. So this is just a beautiful building, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Virginia Tech's history. So originally, Virginia Tech actually comes from the Abraham Lincoln Memorial Land Grant Act, and that allocated 30,000 acres to every single state for every congressman to start an agricultural and mechanical college. So for Virginia, that was Virginia Tech. And we were originally known as Virginia Agricultural and Mechanical College. And since we've changed our name 4 different times, and currently we are Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. And we normally just go by Virginia Tech because that's just shorter and more catchy. So that's not the only thing that's changed since we've been here. We've changed our school colors. We used to be gray and black. And if you can imagine our football or our athletic students running on the field with striped gray and black uniforms, it kind of looks like prison uniforms. So we have changed to our beautiful colors of Chicago maroon and burnt orange, and that we like to say that Mother Nature is a Hokie because she likes to change the leaves into our amazing school colors. And although these colors don't really go together all that well, if you become a student here at Virginia Tech, you will love or learn to love the colors. Personally, I wear them basically every day. I'm wearing Virginia Tech apparel right now. And yeah, so not only that, but we also used to be the Fighting Gobblers. So we weren't always the Hokies. We used to be the Fighting Gobblers. But again, this had a negative connotation because people believe that that's how our athletes would gobble down their food. So we did change to the Hokies, and the name Hokie Bird or the Hokie was coined from O.M. Stoll, who was a student here at Virginia Tech, and he entered into a competition and he actually wrote a chant called Old Hokie, and that's kind of how the term Hokie came about. And we kind of resemble, or a mascot, the Hokie Bird kind of resembles a turkey. And if you think it does, then it actually does, because we used to have a Virginia Tech football player who had a pet turkey, and he would bring it on the field and the turkey would gobble on command. So the Hokie Bird does make a gobbling noise. However, we are not a turkey, but we do sort of resemble a turkey. And another thing I do want to point out real quick is just, I'm sure that as we go around campus, you'll sense a pattern of all our buildings. And that is because every building we have here uses Hokie stone. So Hokie stone is a limestone composite, and it's actually mined from 2 of our local quarries that Virginia Tech owns. Not only that, but there's no 2 stones that are the same, and every single stone is unique. And Virginia Tech is the only place ever that's allowed to use Hokie Stone, and every single new building that pops up at Virginia Tech is required to use Hokie Stone as well. So that's just a really beautiful part about Virginia Tech, and I personally love the way that Hokie Stone looks on all our beautiful buildings. Any questions so far? I know I kind of talk fast. There's a lot of information to go through. Awesome. Okay, so over here is our duck pond. This is known as Blacksburg's cheapest and most romantic date. It's actually really pretty. And said that if you go with someone on a date there and you hold hands with them and you walk around the duck pond 3 different times, that you will end up being together forever. And if that is the case, then you can actually come right over here to our War Memorial Chapel and get married. So War Memorial Chapel is right below our Virginia Tech Pylons, and it's non-denominational, and you can actually get married here. And if you end up getting married here, you can reserve the Hokie bird to show up at your wedding, and he will be in a full tuxedo, which I think is so funny. And also coming back over to the duck pond, so on the other side of the duck pond, we do have our Greek living. So Greek living is considered on campus, and we have about 47 nationally affiliated sororities and fraternities, and this does include our volunteer sororities and fraternities, our service ones, and also our social ones. So if you're ever interested in Greek life, this is really a great place to do it. We have about 19% of our students that go Greek. So I don't know if any of you were interested in that, but that's a little bit about that. And then Corps Cadets, Louisa did mention it a little, but right now we have about 1,200 Corps of Cadet students, and there is the military track and then the citizen leader track. So for the military track, we have 4 different ROTC options. That's the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and then also the Air Force. And this is the barracks for the Corps Cadet. I actually stayed here for my summer orientation, and it's really nice. The residential halls are extremely nice. And this is also the biggest VT that we have here on campus. If you can tell, that's a VT. And then we have about 22% of students that are women that are in the Corps as well. So that's very cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go over and talk a little bit about academics. Louisa covered a lot of it. So currently we do have 36,000 students at Virginia Tech, and 29,000 are undergraduate, and then we have 7,000 graduate, and then about 2,000 part-time. And we do have the 7 different colleges you can choose from. So we have the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, the College of Engineering, the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, the Pamplin College of Business, College of Natural Resource and Environment, and then also the College of Science. So those are our 7 undergraduates colleges. So right now we're in new classroom building. This is one of our newer ones, but it's really nice. So you have little private study rooms, and then this is sort of what a classroom looks like as well. They can either be in like little pods or it can be in straight lines, but the classrooms are really nice. And then I do want to point out this clock. So these are in every single one of our classrooms. We have a constant time and also the date that displays, and they're all synchronized. So I will be mentioning that clock a little later, but just to point that out. Also, changing major, very easy. So we have 2 different ways you can do that. We have 2 different options. So certain majors are restricted, such as your business school majors and then engineering majors. And then we also have unrestricted majors. But basically, for example, I came into Virginia Tech and I was actually in the undecided major within the College of Science, which was called Exploring Science. So from there, I learned a lot about different science degrees, and I just thought this is not for me. So I ended up transferring into the College of Engineering and to Industrial and Systems Engineering, which is currently my major. But that's a restricted major, so you do have to go through sort of an application process, but it's really easy. Even though it's restricted, it's extremely easy to get in as long as you keep up your GPA and you just keep up all your activities. I personally had a really easy time doing that transfer. And then we also have the unrestricted major transfers. So that's really easy. All you have to do is get the signature or approval from the dean of the college that you're trying to transfer into. And I've never known anyone that's had trouble transferring their majors in that fashion either. So yeah, that's a little bit about the different majors. We do have over 150 plus major or degree options to choose from. And then within that, we have over 250 plus track options to choose from. So I'm very positive that all of you can find one major that you're going to end up absolutely loving.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of related, but for the GPA or your GPA in college, like I know in high school it kind of matters, so you can get into college, but like, is it more important? Like, do you have to like get straight A's or get like perfect scores on tests and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say, I wouldn't say that it matters as long as you are challenging yourself and just putting the most effort you can into it. I think that's all you can really do. As far as transferring into restricted majors, like I mentioned, I think a rule of thumb is just having over 3.0 is a pretty good rule of thumb. There are some exceptions to that, but yeah, I think that it's not really more important than high school at all, I wouldn't say. That's a good question though. So right now we are at Goodwin. This is a academic building. It's our engineering academic building. And all of our buildings are actually departmentalized. So for example, this is all our engineering academic building. We have other engineering academic buildings, but this is really helpful because it helps you just not have to run all around campus to find your classes, especially because our campus is very big. And yeah, so there's a question. Oh, okay, never mind. She was answering. Okay. So we have tons of research opportunities. We are a huge research school. So if you're into that, this is definitely the place for you. We have around $530 million that we have generated from research that we do here. And we're also ranked we are one of 2 Virginia institutions that are ranked in the top 50 for research expenditures. So we do have research opportunities for every single undergraduate major to participate in. And we also have study abroad. So study abroad is a really great opportunity. If any of you are interested in that, we have opportunities for every single major for study abroad as well. And if we don't already have a program that interests you for study abroad, you can actually work with the Global Education Office to create your own study abroad program. But we do currently have faculty-led study abroad. We also have study abroad that you can get into through another university, or we also have our Virginia Tech satellite campus in Switzerland that you can do study abroads at. So we have tons of different options. And if you are interested in that, the Global Education Office will help you just decide which one would be the best fit for you. So this is a classroom. This is our biggest classroom within Goodwin. And the newer classrooms do have these awesome outlets, and that helps just for whenever your computer dies. So these little black things are outlets. And then we also have whiteboards in every room, chalkboards or projection or a document camera. So we do have that equipped in all of our classrooms. And our student to faculty ratio is 14:1. So it's a lot smaller than a lot of people would assume. And our biggest percentage of classes are between 20 to 29 students, and only about 7.7% of our classes are over 100. And that's mainly your introductory classes like chemistry. And once you really get more specifically into your major, those class sizes are going to dwindle down. And we do have a few things to combat the bigger classrooms that we have. So we have office hours. All of our professors are required to hold office hours throughout the week, and that's a really great time for you to build relationships with your professors and also just ask them specific questions on the material that you're learning. Not only that, but we also have our recitations. So not every single big class has recitations, but a few of them do. And this is a really helpful time. And it's actually out of class mandatory meetings where you have a TA and you meet with smaller sections of your class and you just discuss previous material that you just learned in your class. And this is really helpful, and it makes classes feel a lot smaller because you do get that one-on-one time with the TA that you wouldn't necessarily get in your 100 student class with the professor. So we do have a lot of things to combat bigger class sizes. And when you choose your classes, basically, as a freshman, it's very simple. All you have to do is go to your summer orientation, and your academic advisor just helps you with the process of choosing classes. They basically lay out your schedule for you, and then they take all the AP credits that you get, they take your dual enrollment credits, and they just decide which classes make sense for you to take. So it's very easy as a freshman. I was extremely nervous about going in, and I was like, I don't know what classes to choose, but my academic advisor was really helpful. So your academic advisor, every single student does get an academic advisor that's specific to your major, and they are just there to help you through your entire academic process as a student. So I go to my academic advisor pretty regularly just to make sure that I'm constantly on track with my schedule, making sure that I'm just doing the right things, keeping up with my work. And she probably is annoyed with me by now because I just see her so much, but she really is just so helpful, and they are all very helpful. And the site that our teachers use is Canvas. So Canvas is where you have your notes posted, it's where you have your assignments posted, the just PowerPoint slides that they go over in class, the syllabus. So that really is your place where you're going to find your grades and everything as well. And there's a spot on there to see where you're, or there's a spot on Canvas where you can submit online assignments as well. So that's been really helpful during this whole COVID pandemic. I've used Canvas a lot, and it's very user-friendly. Okay, so I see lots going on in the chat, but I think that Nina's answering all the questions. Any questions about academics? We do have a few TAs. We have about 7.8% of our TAs that teach actual classes, but they are extremely well equipped to teach the materials that they are teaching, and you can ask them any questions that you'd have to ask a professor. Not only that, we do have our Student Success Center that offers free tutoring for basically every single class we offer here at Virginia Tech. So it has individual study groups or individual tutoring or just study groups. So that's a very underutilized opportunity that you should definitely take on as well. If you're ever struggling in any of your classes, we do have that resource. Awesome. Okay, so the next place I'm going to be going is the Pylons. This is probably one of my favorite places here on Virginia Tech. It has a beautiful view on basically every side of it. So over here, it's pointing to Torgerson Bridge. This is also a perfect postcard Virginia Tech picture, but Torgerson Bridge is beautiful if you ever get to go in there and study. It's all mahogany on the inside. It's very quiet and very classy. And if you ever get the chance to study in there, I would definitely take it up. And then if I turn around, so these are our 8 pylons, and then we are facing the drill field, and then War Memorial Chapel's right under us. So these 8 pylons symbolize 8 different characteristics that we at Virginia Tech really hold near and dear to our hearts and just try to emulate as students. So we have our bravery, we have honor, duty, service, loyalty, sacrifice, and ut prosim. So if you notice, one of those obviously is not English, ut prosim, and that is our school motto. So it means that I may serve. And here at Virginia Tech, I think that I know a lot of schools talk about service, they talk about how great their school is, but honestly, I think here at Virginia Tech, we really do care so much about service, whether it's from just the little things where you see people picking up trash around campus, or people just holding open a door for you when you're like all the way across the drill field and they're still holding a door open for you. Yeah, so just those little things really prove how much we care about service here. Not only that, but we also have, if you can tell, I'm going to try to zoom in. I don't know if you can tell, but on here, on each and every pylon, we have names. So these names are the names of our Virginia Tech fallen alumni who have given their lives to military service. And once alumni gives their life, then the parent actually gets to choose which pylon they feel like represents their son or daughter the most. So that, I think that's a really beautiful symbol. Not only that, but we also have in here in the middle of all of these pylons, we have the Cenotaph. So this is our granite stone. Out of respect, we don't touch it, but these have the 7 names of the 7 Virginia Tech alumni who have received the Medal of Honor. And then there are 2 huge Virginia Tech events that basically every student participates in that I do want to talk about that just really emulate our service that we care about. So the first is Relay for Life. Virginia Tech is actually the #1 collegiate relay for life in the world. So not just in the United States, like in the world. We raise about $500 million, and it goes straight to the American Cancer Society. And this is just, we always have a competition with JMU and then one other school that I forget, but we always win. And it's a friendly competition, but it really helps us raise money. And then the second event I want to talk about is the big event. So as you can tell, obviously people really care about, it's just a huge event. So basically it's student run, student volunteer, and all of the students at Virginia Tech just go out in the New River Valley community, which is the community that surrounds us. And the community gives us projects to work on, whether it's painting their fence, whether it's raking up leaves, and every student just goes and helps the community. This is really just one big day to say one big thanks to our community for putting up with us all the time, being so welcoming to our amazing students. And in 2019, we actually had about 7,800 volunteers, and then the most volunteers that we've had so far is 9,200. So hopefully in the foreseeable future, we'll be able to get that up even higher. So I'm gonna check the time. Okay, so from now, that's like the basic stuff I really want to talk about. I wanna go into a residence hall for sure. So at Virginia Tech, we do have 4 different residence halls that you can choose from, or 4 different styles. So the first is our Jack and Jill style, and that's when you have 2 roommates in each room. So you have 2 rooms, so it's 4 suite mates in total. And then we also have and you also get a private bathroom as well with the Jack and Jill. And then we also have our suite. So right now I'm in a suite. And this is where you have 2 to 3 roommates per room, and that's about 6 to 8 suite mates. And then each and every single resident does get a desk chair, they get a desk, they get a bed, and then a bed lofting kit. So as you can tell, this bed is higher than this bed, and lofting your bed definitely helps with space. I would recommend it. And then you also get a dresser sort of wardrobe as well, and that's behind that door. But this is our suite, and you do get a private bathroom as well. And then our last private bath is where you just have 2 roommates and the private bath. So all those 3 options have the private bath. However, it is your responsibility to look after your bathroom. It's you and your roommate's responsibility. And then the other option we have is traditional. So that's where you have 2 roommates and then you have a hall style bathroom. So personally, I had traditional. I lived in O'Shaughnessy, and it was a traditional dorm, and I honestly loved it. I think that while in the suite you do have built-in friends, in a traditional sense, you are able to go out, you're able to be uncomfortable with other people in your bathroom and just meet people through having that hall bathroom experience. So I personally really enjoyed having the hall bathroom. And you do have 3 different options to choose roommates. So you can either do random, or that's when you just completely do random. That's what I did actually, and it ended up working out really well. Or you can actually find a Facebook page. So every single year has a Facebook page. My specific year had class of 2023 Facebook page. So everyone just posts on there like, hi, I'm blah, 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 and I like to do this and this and this. And a lot of those posts they all kind of sound the same. It's like, oh, I like to study, but I also like to have fun. But that's a good way to find roommates as well. And then we also have just the Virginia Tech method, and that's where you fill out a sort of survey, and then they pair you with someone that kind of is compatible with what your survey says as well. So
April, someone asked, do all dorms have air conditioning?
yeah, that's a good question. So not every single dorm has air conditioning. I would recommend bringing so a lot of people bring 2 box fans. So one points into the dorm, and then the other is in the window pointing out of the dorm. So that really circulates the air well with the outside air. However, I do want to say not having AC really isn't that big of a deal, because we are in Blacksburg. It's very cold here. You really only have to deal with it maybe a month out of the entire time that you're here at Virginia Tech. So at the beginning, when you move in around August, it's kind of sucks. And then at the end, near May, it kind of sucks. But other than that time, I would say just really utilize the fans that you're going to bring. But also there are specific dorms that do have AC as well. And I was personally in a dorm that had AC, so I was pretty lucky. But I actually went into a living learning community. So we do have 15 different living learning communities to choose from. And you don't have to go into one, but I just thought that I wanted to just experience a dorm that or a residence hall that had people that had very similar interests as me. So I was in the leadership and social change living learning community. And I really enjoyed that. And I was with other people that cared about leadership and social change. So it's just a great way to make friends within your residence hall. And yeah, I just want to show you this room as well. And if you can notice, so every single door has like this keypad, and this is a security measure. So once you go into your door, you hold it up like okay, so you have a hokey spa or hokey pee. Sorry, I completely forgot to mention this, but everyone has like a hokey pee, and it's basically the size of a driver's license, and it's your student ID. And this gets you everywhere. It gets you it has your dining plan on it. It gets you into your dorm. It has basically anything you could need, your laundry, if you want to print anything, just all you need is there. And if you want to like ride a bus for free, you can use your hokey pee as well. But basically, you hold the hokey pee up to the door, it'll turn green, and then you type in a 4-digit PIN so that you can get into your specific room. And this is a really great security measure. Not only that, but you'll have to actually swipe your hokey pee on the outside of your residence hall in order to get into your residence hall. And not anyone with a hokey pee can get into any residence hall. It's your hokey pee is specific to your residence hall. So I do just want to emphasize that. I do want to emphasize Virginia Tech has really great security measures in place. We have 3 different police forces. We have the VTPD, Blacksburg Police Department, and then also our Virginia Tech Rescue Squad, which is student run, and they just care about all the medical issues with Virginia Tech students. So we have really great security. I don't really have time to get into it, but if anyone does have questions about more security measures you can always email me. And so that's a little bit about this. I do want to show you before we go a dining hall just so you can get a good feel. Because obviously, I don't know if any of you have heard, but here at Virginia Tech, we have amazing food. And we are actually known for our food. We are number 2 on Niche. We are ranked for the best dining hall food. And I think we're behind like a culinary school. So I don't know if that tells you anything, but we are also ranked number 5 on Princeton Review for best dining food. And we've actually been ranked consecutively for 15 straight years as the top 10 in campus dining food. So we really have amazing food here. So over here, we have like a gelato place. We have a crepe place here where you can get sweet and savory crepes. We also just have like grab and goes as well in most of our dining halls where you can just get soda or like a brownie or whatever you need just to grab and go. We have a hibachi place here, which I personally ate at a lot. So inside you have the hibachi, and it's in the middle of the day, it's grab and go. So you basically just grab it. But then on weekend nights, you can actually reserve it. If you have like a special birthday celebration or something, you can reserve it and actually sit down and have like a hibachi meal cooked in front of you. And then around the corner, you can't tell, but inside Origami, we also have sushi. And then we have Qdoba over there. So that's Mexican, kind of like Chipotle. And every single one of our students with the hokey pee and with your dining plan, you get half off on every single dining hall. So this is honestly such a steal. So for example, in Origami, when I get hibachi, it's $10 normally, but because it's half off, it's $5. So I'm literally getting hibachi for $5. It's such a steal. It's amazing. And we also have an all you can eat buffet as well. And in that, you get 2/3 off of your meal. So we really have great deals in place for our students. Every single student does have a dining plan. So you live in a dorm your freshman year, so you also get a dining plan. And you can choose from 3. We have our premium dining plan, which is about 14 meals per week. We have our mega, which is about 12 meals per week. And then we have our major, which is about 10 meals per week. I will say I got the mega and I was perfectly fine the entire year. I never had to add money or anything. And honestly, I think I could have even went down and got the major, and I think I would have been fine. But also, if you ever run out of money, you can always load in more money. So don't worry, if you run out of money, you can always add more. And if you the money rolls over from your fall to your spring semester, but not from the spring to the next fall. So from the spring to the next fall, if you do happen to have extra dining money, you can actually donate it to help fight hunger in the New River Valley area, or you can just buy items in bulk. So you can buy bulk steak, you can buy bulk candy. We have a ton of options that you can just spend your money at the end of the year in case you
April,
have extra.
someone put in the chat, can you stash food later from the buffet?
I don't think you can. We don't, unfortunately, you don't have any like carry out containers or anything that you can take. That's a funny question. That's a good question. Um, yeah, I don't think that you can carry out any food from the buffet. So I guess you'll just have to really load up on food when you're there. Um, and I do want to mention that our dining plans are a declining balance system. So it's not like most schools where you swipe per meal. It actually works like a debit card. So it's, say you have a certain amount of money, and then when you swipe, you get half off, but then it just takes that amount of money out of your card. So it's not meal swipes, it's a declining balance system, which I personally really enjoy. And it just works really well with all the dining establishments we have. We do have around 9 different dining centers and then 46 dining restaurants within all those dining centers. So you can get anything from like lobster to just sandwiches. We just have such variety with our dining. And honestly, this year I'm actually off campus and I miss the dining food so much. When you are off campus, you can buy a dining plan, but I just decided not to. But I honestly miss Virginia Tech's food so much. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that dining hall. I know I'm basically out of time. And if anyone, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. So this is just a few pictures from football games that I went to. We do have tons of traditions with our football games. Most of our traditions come from our football games. So we do have our skipper cannon, and that's actually a cannon that goes off every single time we score a point. And this came out of a Virginia Military Institute rivalry that we have with them. And basically, one time when we played them in football, they brought a cannon to our game to flex on us. And being the engineering school that we are, we just built a bigger cannon. So ever since, we've been using our awesome skipper cannon, and it just shoots off every single time we have a or we score a point. And then other little traditions we have as well is our Let's Go Hokies. So on one side of the stadium, the cheer squad will hold up a sign that says Let's Go. So the entire side of the stadium screams Let's Go. And then on the other side, you have the cheer squad hold up Hokies, and that whole side of the stadium screams Hokies. So you just have like Let's Go Hokies in the stadium, and it's just a really fun time. And then we also have our Enter Sandman. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but this is a hit song from Metallica. We use it as our football entrance chant. So basically everyone is jumping every time that the song comes on. Our football team starts running out of their tunnel and everyone's just jumping and screaming and going crazy. And football games are just such a fun time. We've actually registered on the Richter scale, which measures earthquakes. And we have registered on the Richter scale 3 different times, and there's only been 5 football games in history that have measured on the Richter scale. So here at Virginia Tech, you can tell that we care about our football, we care about the school spirit. And even if you're not into football, like personally, when I went to Virginia Tech, I didn't know much about football, but since being here, I've like fallen in love with it, which is so weird, but so fun. So yeah, I did want to share like a little bit of the traditions with you real quick. And then this is just some pictures I have from little residence halls as well. This is where I live, so Oshag with the little owl with April. So my RA made this for me, and your RA is the person, they're students and they are very well trained. And anytime you have troubles in your dorms, if you have troubles with your roommates, then you can just go to your RA and they will handle it. They also just have socials for your hall, and they make sure that you assimilate into Virginia Tech really well and into the residence life really well. Okay, so this is the end of the tour I'm going to give. This is sadly always the saddest part of a tour. I have to say goodbye now. I do just want to share a little personal anecdote of the reason that I ended up choosing, and then I continue to choose Virginia Tech as the place that I love to call home. So as you can see, just throughout here, there's just fun little things I've done around Virginia Tech. But all right, so from the beginning, senior year of my high school career, I got accepted into 3 in-state universities, Virginia Tech being one of them. And originally, I had no idea where I wanted to go. I ended up touring all 3 schools, and even then, I just had no idea where I wanted to go. I never really got that feeling that people get when they're on campus and they're like, oh, wow, this is the place for me. Like, I never got that feeling, so I was really worried. And as embarrassing as it is, I will say that it was ultimately my mom who convinced me to go to Virginia Tech. She suggested that I might like going to Virginia Tech more than any other school. So I was like, okay. And right off the bat, I was really nervous because this seems like a huge school. I was worried about where I was going to fit in. But I will say, since being here, it is the absolute best decision I could have made, hands down. So since being here, I've been able to find so many things. I've been able to find just a major that I love. I've been able to find an amazing group of friends, an awesome just hikes. I've been able to find all the amazing local food around Virginia Tech. And I ultimately have been able to find myself. I've grown so much as a person being here. I've found my voice. I've really been able to continue to learn and grow. And I will say that I have absolutely I'm absolutely sure that all of you will do the exact same. I do want to give you a little piece of advice when trying to choose what school that you want to end up that you want to end up in. All you need to do is just follow your heart. You need to choose the place that's going to make you happiest, the place that makes your heart sing, the place that makes you excited to get up every single day. And whether that's Virginia Tech or maybe another school or maybe not even college at all, you just need to choose the place that's going to make you happy. And I really have no doubt that all of you will be able to do that. I've been able to find my home at Virginia Tech, and I'm sure that all of you will be able to find yours wherever you end up as well. Please enjoy the rest of your high school careers. It goes by so fast, but you will absolutely love every second of it. And thank you for being so engaging. Thank you for the people who turned on your cameras. I love seeing your faces. Thank you for just being attentive and listening to my entire speech. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to stick around. And once again, there's my email in the corner in case you want to jot it down and email me. I check my email very regularly. So thanks, though. You're free to go if you don't have any questions.
Thank you, April. Can you end the sharing?
Yes.
Thank you. So do people have questions, especially probably about like college life or whatever? And also maybe about being Asian Pacific Islander, Daisy American on this campus too. I think that might be something you might be asking or thinking about too.
Actually, right after, or like right before the tour, I actually asked if Louisa could give us a few tips on not only what we can do now to help us decide what we should major in the future, but also what we can do to start making us and our applications more appealing or like make a stronger candidate. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, April. You want to talk about yourself?
Sorry, no. I will say, like, specifically from my personal experience, I will say that, like, being just involved in things in high school that you're actually interested in, like, they care more about it is a very holistic review process. So they care more about the reflection that you get from the things you're involved in, like how much insight that you end up getting from the things you're involved in, rather than you just trying to check off the boxes, trying to just be involved in as much as you can. It's more important to really be involved in the things that you love. And then that can also help you figure out what you want to do in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of the times when students just think that we have these expectations, right? I always say we brag about Prism and we're very proud of community service and giving back, but not our students are not all coming in with community service. So you see, like, it's not about, yeah, we encourage you once you're here to definitely be involved, but yes, I agree with April. You will excel at something you're doing that you're passionate about, rather than focusing on what are people thinking about this activity. Now, I will also add, if you can do one club and grow in your leadership for that. There's people that like to mostly be members of clubs, but they rather do multiple clubs, right? So there's different ways that you can find yourself, because I do think as a high school student, not all of us will be extroverted, not all of us want to be at the front or talking and doing all these crazy things, but you can be the very logistics person behind the scene. There's so many things, right? So that'll be one. Like, yes, extracurriculars are huge, but definitely go more about your own passion, because at the end of the day, we're not out here going, oh, this is the club I want to see. Like, we're not that biased about things like that. So anything like that, I definitely agree with April and her advice. Now, to majors, I think this is huge, right? Because there's over 100 majors. The way I've gone and I've advised students at very early age right now is start off maybe with just even asking, what are your favorite classes right now? Because at the end of the day, similarly to that, right? Like, for example, I liked math when I was in high school a lot, and but not so much science, right? So then it's like, okay, well then maybe there is ways to balance STEM majors that maybe more math than science heavy, right? Now I ended up in liberal arts, so that's a whole nother story. But I think starting off that way with your favorite classes, what do you enjoy the more, ties to a lot of majors, because at the end of the day, it's very kind of big, broad area. So there's like two areas, the humanities usually, and then the STEM side. And then here and there's majors that mix it both. I can tell you, there are so many students that will come in kind of being pushed, right, by their families to go into STEM. But then they get to Virginia Tech and you have to continue to do math and science. And these are the students that say, I hate math and science, or I hate math, right? And so at the beginning, I think in high school is people build your schedule for you. You follow an X hours, you go 8 to 3, 4, 5. So the schedule is pretty much made for you. So that's huge difference between college. You get to college and yes, you have your time scheduled for classes, but there's all these gaps. And then when you don't have that, I guess, hard schedule to keeping you kind of super duper accountable to where you have to be, if you're not passionate about that math class, if you're not enjoying that science class, right? And that's the major you chose, you'll start seeing kind of where you struggle or you just lose the engagement. But, right, if you find that balance of maybe there is this math and science area I like versus this other one, then you do that. Same with reading and writing, humanities, right? If you're into that area. And so like you love to read and write, but maybe, or you just love to write but not read. There's like different balances. But I think that kind of narrows it down to starting the conversation of what you may be your skill set to go into your major. Just think of it as a long term, you're kind of continuing to do that for 4 more years. You mix it up, right? You have STEM and you have humanities classes, but you'll start going kind of more into in depth for that. So definitely, I wish someone told me that when I was a high school student, because I was very much I want to be into law school, but I also love math. So what if I would have focused on just my love in math, right? That would have been maybe a different story. So I do think that, start with what you like. At the end of the day, it's just going to make you a happier student. And then you can always switch, people on average switch. So that too. And then guess what? When you get older, you can get a master's in a whole different thing and you can go into a whole no different career. So at the end of the day, yes, it's important, but you have time to decide and things like that. So I think, was that, Ariel? I know you had a couple other things, but I think that was both of the big things you asked, right, about?
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, I don't have anything else. If y'all don't have questions, I know that April and I both share our contact information. You also have Dr. Nina's contact. But overall, I think you're already doing an amazing job, and I think you need to give yourself grace for that, because you are very early already started thinking about this. Trust me, I was not doing that at your age, so it always impresses me. So I think you already are doing amazing by just even being in the meeting, listening to April, and all of this. So keep getting involved, keep getting engaged, and things will work out. You can always transfer to Virginia Tech if you end up somewhere else. Just call us. I always tell students, if you somehow end up somewhere and then it's like, I like April. I think I want to go see her next year. Let me apply as a transfer. So But yeah, thank you all very much. I think if there are no more questions, this is the end, right, Nina?